Have you ever noticed that even when you deeply want support, you still might hesitate? Not because you don't care, not because you aren't serious, but because you're terrified of making the wrong decision, wasting money, or even admitting that you need help in the first place. I had a breakthrough recently that completely changed how I understand the moms I serve. And honestly, it changed how I think about coaching, support, and building my business entirely. Welcome to How to Quit Your Job, the podcast for moms ready to ditch the 9 to 5 and build a life and business they love. I'm your host, Jenna Reichel. Let's go. Hi, mom friends. I hope everyone had the most amazing Mother's Day. Happy belated Mother's Day to you. If no one has told you lately, you are the sun, the moon, the stars, all the things for your family. And I know that that comes with a ton of responsibility and heaviness at times, but you're doing an amazing job. I just wanted to tell you that. Please take time to recognize it. Even if everything feels like it's going to shit, excuse my language, know that it would be a lot uglier without you leading the family. I hosted a webinar last week, and I'm always doing workshops, webinars, sharing insights, resources, all the things. So if you haven't already, I encourage you not only to follow the podcast, so click the X wherever you're listening or the plus sign so that you can get a nice little ping every Wednesday when a new episode is released. That way you are up to date on new offers, you're up to date on new resources, new trainings. But I also invite you to sign up for my email list more specifically so you also never miss a beat in your email. I know that sometimes we don't necessarily have time to listen to an entire podcast episode to hear all the updates, but on my email list, you will know all the things immediately as they are happening. So if you want to do that, go to the show notes to sign up, jenna.coach/104. I'll have a link in there where you can put in your name and email and sign up. Last week, I sent out an email that was a little peek behind the curtain about a limited time offer that's going on right now in my business. So if you're catching this live, there's still time to take advantage of that offer. And I'll talk about it in a little bit because it's related to what I want to talk about in this episode. But I sent out an email to my list last week that really explained my thinking and what led to the offer for this month. And I got a lot of responses about that email, which tells me it's something that would benefit my larger podcast listenership as well. And so today's episode is going to be a little bit about what I talked about in that email, a little dive deeper into the content. Today's episode is really about understanding yourself and your people more deeply, whether that's in business, motherhood, or life in general. I want to share a breakthrough I had recently about the moms I serve and how it completely changed the way I think about coaching and helping moms to take action. We're going to talk about fear, safety, overthinking, why so many moms stay stuck even when they desperately want change. And we're going to talk about how loosening your grip on the way things, quote unquote, should be or should work can open up the door to completely new possibilities. The email I sent last week talked about a breakthrough I had with my own business coach that I'll talk about and also give you ways to apply it to your own business journey. But I actually hired this coach as a parent coach because I was struggling to build connection with my 3-year-old, Adley, and I really felt like I needed outside support. I already had a business coach, so I hired this parenting coach. And this coach, all things considered, is also a little woo. And this year, I really decided I need more woo in my life. I am the most logical and practical person you will ever meet. And I bring a lot of the benefits of that into my coaching. But I've also been exposed to a ton of other schools of thought and development and knew that I was leaving a lot on the table if I'm not learning about and practicing more feeling work, intuition work, manifestation work. So I hired Crystal. I actually did an interview back in episode 25 with Crystal, well before hiring her as a coach. But the episode was really responsible for piquing my interest. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about her and what she does. It's a great interview. So I hired Crystal as a parent coach, and it turns out that our energy in parenting impacts our business, and our energy in our business impacts our parenting. So her and I do probably 80% of coaching around my business. And it's been super valuable for all aspects of my life and really interesting to see how it all connects. But she said something to me that created such a breakthrough. She talked to me about the human design of the people I serve. Now, I know very little about human design. She talked through some of my own design with me, and that too really opened up a whole new level of self understanding. But when she talked to me about the people I serve and their design, that's really when my mind was blown. She said to me, "The moms you're here to serve are thoughtful. They care deeply about doing things right. They think things through. They consider every angle. And because of that, they can stay in their heads for a long time before they move. Not because they don't want it, but because they are afraid of getting it wrong." And I don't know if you've ever taken a personality test or even done your own human design and you have that feeling afterwards that's like complete relief because you finally feel seen and can put language to something that you may not have been able to describe before. And that's exactly how I felt. Not only was this statement true for me as a decision maker, but I had seen this pattern within so many moms that I connect with. Every single consultation, actually, even those that are feeling so ready and aligned with coaching, will have moments where they start to get into their head and potentially delay the process or not truly move forward because they are afraid they may not be making the right decision. They're thinking things like, what if I waste money? What if this isn't for me? What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if I don't know enough yet? What if I could just do this on my own? Right? And honestly, I think this is especially true for moms because so many moms are carrying the emotional weight of everyone around them. They're the emotional backbone of the family, the planner, the caretaker, the one holding it all together. So, of course, support for you becomes something that you might overthink. Of course, my moms feel like they should be able to figure it out on their own. When my coach put language to this and told me this, without her even really knowing my people or any specific examples, like I hadn't even shared those things yet. This was all from my own human design chart and who I'm meant to serve from that. But when she shared this with me, I had so much relief because before I knew this, it was easy to think that something had gone wrong when people didn't move forward. It was easy to think that there's something I could have done differently or said differently to really show them what's possible. But now I knew that this was part of the process. The being thoughtful, the considering every angle, the endless thinking about and questioning it. This is just a characteristic of my best clients, the ones I'm meant to serve. And whether you believe in human design or not, the insight helped me understand my people in a completely different way. When I learned this about my people, I decided to take it as fact. And honestly, I see these patterns so often with moms that it immediately resonated as true. So then the real question was, how do I create safety for the people I'm meant to serve so that they can take action and move forward without being bogged down by fears and what ifs? My coach told me the people you serve trust what they can experience for themselves. So asking them to leap blindly into a long-term commitment in coaching is going to create fear and be much harder for them to say yes to. It's going to be harder for them to be willing to try. She said, your role to your people is to reduce fear, increase certainty, normalize trial and error, and help them trust themselves again. And that last piece really hit me. Help them trust themselves again. Because I think so many moms have spent years doubting themselves, putting themselves last, or carrying so much responsibility that they've stopped hearing their own inner voice clearly. Now, again, this insight applied to so much of what I was seeing and doing. And I realized through this conversation that my offers weren't creating safety. I'm sure for the most part, I can create safety for people when I meet them. In a consultation, when I'm talking to people one on one, moms spill their hurt to me and feel comfortable sharing so much. And I love that. So I know safety is created, but there was a disconnect happening when I talk about committing to a long term coaching relationship. There was a disconnect happening with my coaching offer. I was asking moms to take a leap of faith into a 6-month coaching program without much certainty of the results they would get at the end of that time. And of course, I have a lot more certainty because I've seen the results that moms create. So I can tell you all day that you will absolutely have a business by the end of those 6 months. I actually have never had a client yet that just didn't have anything to show business-wise at the end of it. But those promises, they're not really enough. It's not enough to create certainty. So then it dawned on me exactly what my people need, which is where the May offer was born. And what I want to also emphasize here is that being open to changing your mind and loosening your grips on how you think things should go is always going to be beneficial for you and your business. It's a life lesson I'm constantly relearning, but being open to change and leaning into testing new things is really what helped me here. Because I'm a long-term relationship type person. I know that what can be created in 6 months is a lot more than what can be created in 4 weeks. And with my client's best interest in mind, I created a program that leans into that knowledge. But knowing what I know now about my people, it was clear that I had to test out how to create more safety and alignment for moms. And I also realized something really important. People don't always need certainty before they begin. Sometimes they need a safe place to experiment, a safe place to try support on, a safe place to experience what it feels like to not carry everything alone. So I created the May opportunity, which is basically a chance for moms to opt into coaching, all the bells and whistles that my longer term clients experience. But in May, new moms can experience what it's like to be a part of that coaching community and this level of support for an entire month at a much lower cost. Not just the coaching itself, but the feeling of being surrounded by other moms who get it. Moms who also are trying to connect with themselves, build something meaningful, feel less overwhelmed, and create lives that actually feel good to live. Another really important piece of this decision and idea came from the feedback I've gotten over the many years of coaching moms. Almost immediately, within the first 2 sessions, moms feel their entire life take a 180. They learn a couple of the tools that help them with not feeling so overwhelmed and also to feel better on a day-to-day basis. And everything starts to shift once their thinking shifts. And when I say everything shifts, I don't just mean productivity or business ideas. I mean they start waking up feeling lighter. They stop feeling so trapped in their own thoughts. They start trusting themselves more. They feel more patient with their kids. They remember they are a person too, not just someone constantly taking care of everyone else. It doesn't take 6 months for that to happen. It takes less than 6 weeks. Yes, it takes time to build a business, but it takes 1 hour to feel markedly better. I had a client come to me so completely overwhelmed with being the breadwinner, the head of the household, the one keeping her family together physically, financially, emotionally. And within 3 weeks, she was actively building a side consulting business. And this consulting business tapped into a passion of hers while still doing all the things that she was doing when she first came to me. And she said to me very pointedly, had you told me 3 weeks ago that I'd be creating this consulting business, I would have laughed at you. It doesn't take long for life to drastically shift, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in your own head. I'm going to continue to do podcast interviews with clients because it's powerful hearing their perspective about how life-changing some of the tools and support can be and the community, of course. But the first one I did that you can check out is episode 94. I definitely recommend checking that out. The link will be in the show notes, jenna.coach/104. It's a great conversation where you can really see how much things can change. So these two things really came together to open up my creative channels for this May opportunity. Knowing more about my people and what they need to feel safe, and knowing that in just a month, everything can change for a mom. If you're catching this live, the offer is still available for a few weeks, as long as you sign up in the month of May. And I'm also, if you're not catching this live, I'm very open to the possibility that it becomes part of my coaching process. That the first month of coaching is really for everyone to see if it's a good fit, if it feels good, if you're getting results, if you love the community, not just figuring that out through one conversation, but really getting into the experience of coaching and living it and then deciding. Because honestly, you do not need to know if coaching is going to change your whole life before trying it for a month. You don't need to know exactly where your business is going before receiving support. You don't need to feel 100% ready. You just need to be willing to experience support and see what becomes possible from there. It's a little baby step that in the month of May, I've just made it that much more inviting and that much easier for you to take it. But what's more important in this episode too than that offer and my thought process that went into it, and really the breakthrough of figuring out more about the people I serve and what they need, and shifting my business to align with what they need, not exactly with how I think it should go. What's more important in this episode than that offer is the willingness to try things. Okay, the willingness to receive data inputs, whatever that may be, wherever they may come from, and not create confusion or negative thought loops, but to really use the data to create something exciting. I think there's a world where a past me would have heard that feedback from my coach that these are my people. They wait, they think, they're careful. It takes them time to make these decisions and to move. And for me to feel devastated by that. Because to me, a past version of me, that probably would mean that I have to work harder. I have to wait longer. The results in my coaching business are going to take longer. There would probably have been a lot of frustration around hearing that. But where I am today, and where all of my clients can get to, where all of us can get to, is that we receive these data inputs and we are ready to create something exciting from the new data. I'm so excited for this month. And it's amazing to also see how excited my current clients are. We had a mom join and take advantage of the May opportunity within the first week. And it was so beautiful to see how much she was welcomed into the group session that happens every week. And everyone loved the new energy in the room. That's what we get to look forward to throughout this month and into next month, is new energy, moms getting results and support, maybe for the first time. Moms seeing what's possible and moving everything forward. Moms realizing they don't have to keep waiting until they feel perfectly ready to finally receive support for themselves. So I'm pumped about this month. I feel like this is one of the first ideas, and I've done an episode before on there's no such thing as a bad idea that comes from a mom brain. But in that episode, I talk about how we come up with ideas and then we doubt them and we kind of second guess them. And where I'm at in my coaching and where I'm at with the support I'm receiving, this is one of the first ideas that I have just felt so confident in. Not necessarily that it's going to work, but there's so much alignment. And I'm just so excited about this opportunity that it feels so easy to talk about. It feels so easy to welcome people into this opportunity. And I want that for you as well. I want that for all of your ideas, and we'll get there. I promise. So here's how I want you to think about this and apply it to where you're at in your own business journey. I want you to reflect on firm beliefs you have about your business, the process, the possibility, or anything that feels firmly true. Just like I firmly believed that a 6-month coaching program was the only way for my clients to get the best form of results, I want you to think about what are the things that are holding you back from connecting with your people. Maybe it's a belief that you have to have everything figured out before you get started, or you have everything figured out before you tell anyone about your business idea. Have everything figured out before you offer to help someone. Maybe it's a belief about a market being saturated. So you could never build a business in that particular market or industry. It's just so saturated. Maybe it's a firm belief about what you need before you're ready for support, a belief that you need to get organized or clear your head or have more time before you say yes to support. Whatever it is, I want you to consider loosening the grips on those firmly held beliefs. I want you to explore other possibilities. What if those beliefs aren't true? What would you do differently if the opposite were true? What would I do differently if the opposite were true, that moms can get life-changing results in 6 weeks instead of 6 months? I'd create an opportunity for them to experience that, which is how all of this came to fruition. Okay, that's one piece. The other thing I want you to think about for your own journey is to invite something into your life that your life is missing. You may not feel like your life is missing anything per se, but I want you to reflect and really be honest with yourself about what's missing. It was pretty clear to me this year that my life was missing woo. I'm familiar at a surface level with lots of woo stuff and haven't engaged with any of it. I've been skeptical and comfortable with my own methods that are always practical and logical and tangible. But I was honest with myself that my life might be missing an entire piece to the puzzle. So it might not be more woo for you, but it might be some type of support that's missing. If it's the life and business coaching support, if it's the individualized accountability, if it's the business building mom community, definitely check out my program and hopefully in time to take advantage of the May offer. But maybe it's missing part of your identity, part of yourself that you gave up in motherhood that you need to tap back into. A hobby, an interest, travel, friends, something that's just for you. Maybe your life is missing vulnerability and connection. I want you to identify what your life is missing and then go plug that hole. And maybe the thing that's missing isn't another strategy or another productivity hack. Maybe it's support. Maybe it's community. Maybe it's finally having a space where you don't have to hold everything by yourself anymore. I needed more woo. I got more woo and I've been loving it. So maybe this is your invitation to loosen your grip a little bit, to question the beliefs that have kept you stuck, to stop assuming you need certainty before action, to let yourself experiment, to let yourself be supported. Sometimes one small decision, 1 month, one conversation, one safe place to land can completely change the direction of your entire life. Thank you for listening. I love being in your ear every Wednesday. Be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss a beat. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of How to Quit Your Job, a mom's guide to creating a life and business you love. If you want to learn more about how I can help you stop making excuses and start making moves, head on over to www.jenna.coach. I'll see you next week.